Superman Lost issue 9 sees Lois Lane visiting Senator McMonagall, telling the senator that the car his assistant was driving when she was caught with the $1 million in the trunk was the wrong one, since the assistant parked in the wrong space, and since they don't have assigned spaces, so when she should have parked in spot 69, she parked in spot 96, which is Senator Wilshire's spot, meaning he's the one behind this. Lois thinks that the senator knew this but resigned just to protect his assistant. Lois's cancer takes a toll on her and she is forced to sit down, telling the senator that it's been a rough day. Lex meanwhile is about to have his head turned into red mist by Superman, but Lex wakes up from the nightmare. As his music continues, Lex, in disguise, goes to get coffee from Jitters, but is suddenly slammed through the wall by Superman, who tosses him into a bus, killing him instantly. Lex breaks from his daydream, calling Lois and getting her message box. He knows that the woman is keeping her pain meds inside a lead lining inside of her purse, so Superman cannot see them. He wonders what her excuse for the nausea and lethargy are, and thinks about it for a moment, knowing that she's pretending to be pregnant. Lex is quite impressed with her, finding that to be a wrench in his plan, since without Superman knowing about her sickness, he thinks that Lois is trying to save Superman from Lex. Lex doesn't believe in salvation, telling Lois the story of Emmaus, and Lois pretending to be like this godlike spirit to save Superman, and it won't save him though, since nothing can because he is only human. Clark enters the room, confronting Lois about the calls to Lex and the medication he found, but when Lois doesn't say anything, Clark leaves to confront Lex. Lois stops him, demanding that he not fight her battles for her, but Clark throws it back at her, not wanting her to lie to him, since they are not that type of people. Lois thinks that he doesn't want them to act like humans, since humans lie, and Clark isn't from Krypton, he's from Kansas, and he needs to remember that. Clark questions her about the pregnancy test, learning that Lois got it from a girl at work, and she did it to stop him from doing what he's about to do now. Clark wants to deal with this later, but Lois demands he stay and deal with it now. She admits that she made a bad choice going to Lex Luthor of all people, but didn't know how else to do this, since Clark left her for just a few hours and she lost him. Clark assures her that he is there with her, but Lois knows that he's still a million miles away on that planet with the people he came to love. Clark knows that she is talking about Hope, the Green Lantern he stayed with, but he knows that she is long gone and no one can locate the planet, and he's accepted that. Lois isn't sure, since it's a mistake that is denying him who he is, and it was wrong for her to want that. Clark wants to deal with Luthor since he's gone too far this time, but Lois tells him to forget Lex and to go into the kitchen and fix the toaster. Clark doesn't understand what she means, so Lois tells him that he needs to do something that actually matters, since Lex wants Superman to crash through his wall, all so he can kill the hero with kryptonite gas or a death ray, and they have all seen this movie before. Clark thinks that she means with her dying, but Lois knows it's more than that, as Lex wants to destroy them, and if Clark wants to fight for something, he has to fight for them. Lex meanwhile cycles through the park when Superman grabs him, tossing him into space and leaving him to freeze to death. Lex breaks from his daydream as the doorbell rings, and with some hesitation, he goes to answer it, finding Lois waiting for him. Lois demands that he give her the Mithridate, the cure for the false cancer he gave her, since it's in his pocket right now. Lex plays dumb, not knowing what she means, so Lois reminds him that the gamma rays he bombarded her with weeks ago would have bombarded him as well, since they were sitting close by, and either he was lying about giving her cancer, or he had a cure made and he took the cure. Lois throws Lex's Emmaus analog back at him, telling him that the two men on the road didn't believe, and that's why the godlike being didn't show them a face, but she believes, and she knows the cure is in his pocket, kept handy for dramatic flair, since that's what villains do. Impressed with her, Lex reveals the cure, telling Lois that he always did like her. Lois grabs the cure and leaves, calling him a jackass as Lex sees Superman show up, immolating Lex with his heat vision. Clark meanwhile has gone to see Mike again, telling the therapist that he really wanted Lex dead, but he didn't do it. Superman knows that Lex didn't really hurt Lois, he was just trying to send a message, being that he hates Superman, but the hero doesn't hate Lex. Mike, however, doesn't buy that, telling Superman that the way the human brain works means that he wants to bash Lex's skull in, hence the fantasies he's been having about killing Lex in different ways. Superman is sure that he doesn't want to kill Lex, and Mike knows that he won't because he's Superman after all. Before Superman leaves, Mike tells him that the hate is an ego state that wants to destroy the source of its unhappiness, and maybe for reasons he can't identify, Lex occasionally wonders what it might be like to have friends, but in lieu of that, he is probably somewhere waiting for a wall to come toppling down on top of him. However, it will never come for him, since after all, Superman is Superman. Later on, Lois tells Clark about the cure, finding that it's just mineral water with some soursop in it, and it will neutralize the fake cancer symptoms Lex gave her. She reveals that she dubbed it Mithridate after the cure-all from the Renaissance, betting back then it was just water as well. Lois apologizes for everything, knowing that she has been obsessed with Superman for as long as Lex was, and maybe that makes her just as crazy as him. But the one thing that can threaten them is themselves now. The doorbell rings and Lois finds Bruce Wayne waiting for them. Bruce tells them that there's been a development as an alien voice is heard outside. Clark recognizes the voice and the language, and Bruce tells him that they must have traced the transponder signal he sent out when Clark got back to Earth. Lois finds Hope waiting outside, but that's not all, as Hope enters the apartment and reveals that she is pregnant with Clark's child.